Hey, yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, great. Okay, well, listen, hello, welcome to the next in a series of PowerPool AMAs on X. We're featuring projects which have decided to build on PowerAgent, our automation network. For those of you who are totally new to PowerPool, we're the developers and operators of the uh, PowerAgent automation network. An automation network is a service network that adds functionality to, particularly in our case, EVM chains and layers. EVM chains and layers are not really complete. They don't have any internal automation capabilities. So we provide that, and projects build upon us to introduce decentralized, trustworthy, configurable, generalized automation to their services. And today's example is Breadchain. Breadchain is using the latest crypto technology and applying it in the world of collective investment, in particular, um, cooperative style investment that allows, say, smaller investors to invest in a big diversified portfolio of high impact projects. And I will, at this point, just ask Breadchain to take over and describe their projects and how it all works for the benefit of all of us. Thanks very much.
Yeah, sure. Hi, how you doing? Well, my name is Josh. I also run an account called the Blockchain Socialists, where I have a blog and a podcast where I've been kind of exploring uh, blockchain, crypto in the lens of post-capitalism or sort of like alternative economies that are more democratically run. And I'm here with Ron, who is one of our developers.
Hello, how you guys doing? Ron, I'm a blockchain developer, smart contract engineer, a bunch of other stuff. Very excited to be working on infrastructure for the development and uh, benefit of post-capitalist projects, of left-wing oriented projects, and we're utilizing PowerPool for some vital infrastructure. Um, yeah.
Yeah. So Ron's gonna was the one who's like mainly working on a lot of the PowerPool use cases. Who I have him on. But yeah, to kind of explain a bit about Breadchain. So Breadchain Cooperative is a collective of many different projects that are looking to advance a progressive vision for blockchain and its potential to transform society. Basically, a lot of projects that are aligned in values that want to come together and build on blockchains. Um, Basically the technical tools for helping create a more democratic economy or to create sort of better institutions and systems that allow for this kind of democratic input for communities to be able to run themselves rather than having like a giant corporation or the states be the thing that kind of forces decisions and such. So yeah, so we focus on building what we call solidarity primitives. So basically taking this idea in DeFi of financial primitives, but instead of solely focusing on like financial speculation or just finance generally as like the purpose of that piece of software, but instead to focus on how to use that software to forge solidarity between individuals and collectives. So yeah, so we've been building a couple of things out there already, but I'm sure we'll get into it.
Well, I mean, this sounds like something that probably wasn't possible without crypto. Certainly, a lot of crypto development could be best classified as early stage venture capital, and historically, that hasn't been available to the small investor because it has a very low hit rate, and so you need to have a large portfolio of projects. So historically, venture capitalists have been uh, only available to high net worth individuals who are allowed to invest in venture capital. And of course, crypto and tokenization changes this totally. And I think it's very interesting that you're pushing this particular boundary of how the small investor really should be accessing new projects that they're interested in without concentrating their bets too much.
Yeah, yeah. I guess I think the way that we're kind of like we're trying to really have a different paradigm than really like venture capital investments. Really something that's more what we consider to be like democratic. Not democratic necessarily in the sense of like anybody being able to invest, but valuing people's thoughts and opinions when it comes as like input for these types of systems that we want to build. But yeah.
Well, that's another feature of a DAO, which is that everybody has a view in the DAO. Everyone has a vision, and we have these tools to allow everyone to put out visions and see where it goes. I mean, how does your sort of tech stack, if you like, support the DAO side of things as opposed to, say, the treasury side or the investment side?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that, so at the moment we have one application that we've built out, which is called the Bread crowd staking application, which is meant to be a way to kind of, this is more focused on like funding ourselves and funding the cooperative and finding an alternative to like venture capital or other types of traditional investments. So we have that's already out there. And what this basically application does is it generates yield based on sort of a collective stablecoin. I mean, we're using SDAI, so we're like gaining money from the DAI savings rate. And basically, what we need to kind of like now, what we're working on with using PowerPool is how do we democratically decide how we allocate those resources, and use automation to like make it much easier to make this kind of democracy more normal, rather than democracy being something that you do every 4 or 5 years where you go vote and pretend like you get to choose, actually choose someone in government, making democracy like a thing that you partake in as part of your like more regular life. And so if you're like a part of the community of Breadchain and you've minted bread, which is our community currency, then that would give you a right to vote on how we allocate those resources amongst the various projects. And so that's something that we're utilizing PowerPool to build out. So we've been doing this hackathon basically for the whole day and the past couple of days, and again tomorrow, to really begin to build out these different components for governing these resources democratic.
Yep. Well, we look forward to what you've got, because we too are a DAO, and we're always looking for the tools that will allow us. We're a very diverse DAO. We have on the one side keepers, people who run validator nodes across an increasing number of chains, but we also have developers who are writing services, templates that sometimes pay them directly. So it's a mix of developers and node runners, and we want to tap into the best information from both sides.
Yeah, Gordon. Yeah, could I add something? First of all, I'm so happy to see the Josh and Ron and Breadchain on the IMA. So sorry guys, I was connected a little bit later due to some internet issues. Yeah, but yeah, I'm happy to see you, Josh, and yeah, finally we are going to make an IMA. So yeah, Gordon, I just want to share a little bit that what is really exciting about Breadchain, that this is quite interesting use case for PowerPool. It's not purely like DeFi investments or like yield generation, like basic stuff, as we see all the time in DeFi. It's more like social application that uses this treasury management and automatic funds distribution under the hood. So PowerPool acts like as a like a tool for making all the social processes that they want to execute. So this is really interesting, and this is something brand new, I think, because we like before no one project used PowerPool in this way. So this is really cool. So and I want to ask, so why did you choose the PowerAgent for automation? So what was your decision based on, and what was your vision around automation when you start to think about it and you start to discuss it together before?
I think when you're attempting to create a governance structure where the ultimate goal is really to give everybody an equal amount of control and to be able to represent their investment in the DAO practically, cryptographically, by influencing where that money will go, you run into some sort of like logistical problems, right? Like on how, like on are you going to disperse money to projects on a monthly basis? Who is going to trigger that automation? What are the conditions for that? Can we optimize it for gas? Can we have that done in a trustless way, in a permissionless way, in a way where if one of the DAO members who's responsible for it turns malicious, are we going to have any sort of guarantees and 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 the like? And if you look at PowerPool, you really have a one-stop solution for all these issues. You have this network of keepers who permissionlessly can join, and they have collateral, so you're assured that they're going to execute your tasks. You have like programmability with defining whatever automations you want, and that solves those logistical problems for us. So we're able to assure that funds are being dispersed on time without trusting anybody, and having that sort of like cryptographic guarantee that both in terms of collateral and the permissionless nature of the network, that it is going to get executed. And yeah.
Well, that's great. That's a great summary. We're seeing that as a theme. The value proposition of PowerAgent is very big. It goes across a lot of viewpoints. But this idea of just having a credibly neutral agent that you can count on is fundamental. Were you surprised that it was difficult to get that when you started building on a particular chain?
Yeah.
I mean, did you realize the limitations of change?
I think what PowerPool is doing is providing an infrastructure solution for an industry-wide problem. I think we're currently in the state of blockchain development. We have limitations on what we can do technically. And it is surprising coming from this like Web 2 world where, as a programmer, I have like, I can create an if statement so that when a certain date arrives, a certain action will happen. And then you go into the Web 3 world and you find out, oh, it's not so simple. And yeah. So I think that this is like vital infrastructure, and it's really underrated because there's a lot of compromises on decentralization in the space and creating like a full cohesive model where we, as as a DAO that wants to be as neutral and as trustless as possible, can really leverage a solution to its full utility. It's very empowering.
Yeah, we call that getting purple pilled. That's the moment when a developer realizes that they need PowerAgent. That is called purple pill.
Yeah, it's a good analogy, Gordon. So, by the way, you said that you're now focusing more on Gnosis chain, right? Because when we met in the first time in August, the Breadchain used to work on Arbitrum
Polygon
or Optimism. Oh, sorry, yeah, on Polygon, yeah. So, and why you decided to go to Gnosis chain? Because for us, for PowerPool, the Gnosis chain is now the primary chain. We have more than 100 keepers on the chain. We have some validators that deploying tasks for automating the yield harvesting from the validators' rewards and converting them even to euros. Some, like legit and legal stablecoin in the European Union. So they made some stuff around that. And this was really exciting. So yeah, why you decided to go to Gnosis chain?
Yeah, so we went to Gnosis chain for a few different reasons. One was to so on the way that the crowd staking application works is we take your DAI, and then we on the Polygon version we would take the DAI and put it onto Aave, and we would collect yield through Aave on that DAI. The issue with that was a couple of things. One was that as a user experience, you have to approve the contract, right, for the contract to use your DAI. Whereas if we use Gnosis, which has a native currency as XDAI, then you don't have any contract approval process. So that was like a big UI user experience benefit. And then as well, I mean, Gnosis is cheaper, has less transaction fees. And then it also has the SDAI, or the DAI savings rate token, available, and like the yield garnered from that. So rather than relying on kind of like the volatility of the market to generate yield from Aave, the DAI savings rate gives a guarantee percentage, and then like plus a little bit more because of how Gnosis chain works. So that gave us like a better way to kind of be able to measure and like predict, you know, future revenues for the cooperative. So those are a couple of reasons. As well, Gnosis has Gnosis Pay coming out, which is like a debit card, which then you can be able to buy things through like crypto that you hold on Gnosis chain. And so we wanted to take advantage of that and, you know, have people be able to mint bread and then buy bread at the grocery store with it, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a really big advantage of Gnosis chain. As I said before, some validators, they made automatic jobs to convert the income proceeds from validators' job to the stablecoin and spend them using the Gnosis Pay. Yeah, so this use case is coming out really fast.
Yeah.
So, and I think that for Breadchain, this SDAI product is like streamlined yield, right? It's very easy to use, and the only thing you need to think about is, you know, to mainly think how to distribute the proceeds.
Yeah.
Because it is generated in one contract, as I understand. So it's quite easy. So how do you see this, you know, treasury management algorithm? I mean, in a nutshell, of course, not like an implementation, just like logical discussion, like logical algorithm of this, like just to audience to understand how it ideally should work.
For liquidity management, that use case was really, I mean, one is definitely one that we're hoping to get some feedback on from the PowerPool community on like what maybe some good strategies. But essentially what we want to do, as like any other DAO wants, is to make sure that we optimize our liquidity on decentralized exchanges so that people who do have bread are able to swap it if they want a new token. So like the way that the crowd staking application works, the way that we get funded is for people to mint more bread and for them not to burn their bread. Because the contract allows you to burn bread in order to receive back the DAI that you gave as an option. We would rather encourage users to swap their bread for maybe another token that they may need at that moment. In that way, we're able to like then without burning bread, there's more bread in existence, and therefore there's more yield. So basically, the strategy for this would be to make sure that there's liquidity so that people are able to make that swap, so they aren't forced to burn. Because the way that we have the system is, you know, it's like an opt-in system. But yeah, so we would have kind of the high level ideas. We would have a liquidity pool with bread, XDAI, and then another one, maybe another USD stablecoin, not sure. And then we would want another one that would be interesting, would be bread and the Monerium Euro, since Monerium is the kind of main token for Gnosis Pay. So to kind of like make sure that people are able to use Gnosis Pay with bread, there would need to be liquidity with that token pair. So kind of optimizing between that, what is excess in the treasury, and these token pools.
Well, there are some other projects who are using PowerAgent to automate liquidity management. As you probably know, liquidity management is tricky to do manually. Yeah. Most people are really suffering a lot more loss than they think from, you know, toxic arbitrage flow and a lot of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So all of the new DEXs really require an automated approach, and I would encourage you to look at some of the people who are using PowerPool for liquidity optimization, because it is always a challenge for a project to maintain some liquidity in you know, for the reasons that you've said, but it's best, I think, also to realize that impermanent loss it's best socialized. I mean, if you can't rely on independent investors to risk impermanent loss on a token. You need to socialize that cost.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep, and the second question is about the treasury management. So how do you plan to allocate your treasury?
So we're having a kind of a novel implementation for treasury management that's aligned with our philosophy and values. Generally, what we want to do is have our monthly accrued yield, which is generated by a shared treasury. We want to have that dispersed to our member projects. So these are projects that are aligned with Breadchain values. They are promoting cooperative economies or progressive values, mutual aid, things that are aligned with our ecosystem. And we are having this yield disbursement be managed democratically in two ways. One, we are having it, as membership projects are admitted into the Breadchain ecosystem, they are guaranteed half of the yield distributed alongside all the membership projects. Now, the other half of the yield is open for the community to decide the distribution percentages. So we're using weighted token voting in order to, on a monthly basis, decide which membership projects get what distribution of the remaining yield. This encourages our community to be engaged with the projects, to research them, find out, and also provides a way for us to manage these resources collaboratively and in a way where it is not us who have a higher position of authority than others, but rather we are all co-managing this economy that we have in Breadchain.
Well, Vitalik would say you should use quadratic voting to be maximally democratic. We have a similar issue because in the long run, PowerAgent keepers, there's going to be some whales and there's going to be a long tail of home stakers with smaller stakes. And, I personally believe we should go the quadratic voting route because to spread across all the chains and, we need a lot of keepers and we're really targeting the small democratic home stakers in the community. So we can't allow a concentrated voting scheme where a couple of big whale keepers have too much power.
Yeah, I think just like also for us to keep in mind as well that kind of what we're building right now is also like a version 0, and we're kind of part of our experiment is to try out different voting mechanisms and see what works best with the community, starting with kind of what's available and then seeing what needs to be built based on kind of like our community's needs.
Well, I think Vitalik published a white paper on quadratic voting, and I also think there's several sources to look at. But
we're considering quadratic voting, conviction voting, token wave. Like we're going to be experimenting, and honestly, as part of our philosophy, the strategies that we would use for this voting would also be open for the community to decide and have their way on. But definitely, there's a lot of merit to quadratic voting in terms of efficiency and expression.
Okay. Well, one question we always ask in these sessions to the developers, just honestly, what's been the most complicated thing in terms of building on PowerAgent from your perspective? What is it that we could do to improve?
So we're also in the process of like running our own PowerAgent. So like, let's take this in two steps. First, as a developer, having this, code-free interface to define a job, to select keepers, to really have like a visualization of the entire network is very, very convenient. Being able to write and define my resolver job in Solidity, which is my native programming language as a smart contract engineer, is very, very nice, and not having to like have any additional framework or language or tooling to define that. And I think like the tricky part is sort of like, you know, deploying everything and then waiting and seeing that everything is working as planned. There's like those moments of in between. But other than that, we haven't really had any issues. Now on the PowerAgent side, we're just beginning that process now, so we'll be able to give some more concrete feedback in the future.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely great that you're both a developer and a node runner keeper. And we recommend that to other people because, for one thing, you can just watch everything. It's totally transparent. You can watch your jobs, confirm yourself that the jobs are done. If your job isn't done, you can slash it yourself. I mean, it's obviously the optimal situation.
Right.
Yep. I think, Gordon, maybe we will move a bit to the Breadchain ecosystem. So, Josh, could you maybe provide some insights on projects that are building in Breadchain ecosystem currently?
Mhm.
So what they try to do, what's their mission, maybe something really interesting
Yeah.
for Breadchain and for PowerPool communities there.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, maybe I'll start. The first one I would start with is a place where me and Vasily met through the Crypto Commons Association, the CCA. They are a group that does a lot of events throughout, mostly in Europe, that focuses on this kind of intersection of crypto and the commons economy. So, the commons is sort of like this idea that before our current economic system, before that, it was pretty normal for people to exist in a commons or to live communally and to share their resources. They didn't have this idea of kind of like very individualized property ownership. And so the cryptocurrency world, in the way in which that like data, the digital is sort of extremely abundant and not scarce in the same way that material things are, kind of makes like different notions of private property kind of redundant. But so this is like an event space where they have these types of events and have these types of discussions and different projects that are involved in that like niche of crypto, where we all come together like several times a year. They have an event in Berlin coming in March, I know, and then as well they'll be in Berlin again in May for ETH Berlin. So that's one. And then another project is Symbiota Co-op. So Symbiota is a project that is, I mean, kind of ironically similar to Breadchain, in which they are a collective of different cooperatives. They have one platform called Dandelion, which is like an events platform where you can create your own event, and then you can buy tickets either through fiat or through crypto. So the Bread token is integrated into that platform. And then another like part of their federation includes, for example, the Psychedelic Society. So basically, a lot of people who are into psychedelics. It's kind of like a group for them in which they practice different types of uses for psychedelics. The reason that they created that platform, Dandelion, is interesting because, if you're a group that is exploring psychedelics, a lot of times companies like Facebook and whatever else don't want you to host their events or like have you like create a page for your events for exploring psychedelics. So they have to create their own events page in order to do it. And that's why they're also interested in crypto. So that's one group. And then the third one is LaborDAO, where they've been doing a lot of research on kind of like the intersection of crypto and labor. So like how kind of labor is treated within the crypto world and in DAOs. And then besides that, there is, of course, us as like Breadchain developers as another kind of de facto project part of it.
I think one area that's really interesting from this perspective of community ownership and who owns what and property rights and all that is AI. And the reason is that, AI is just an algo, but you train it with a data set. And the issue is, how do you collaboratively put together a data set where everyone has an incentive to correct it and make it better and improve it? And yet at the same time, no one can claim they own the whole data set. They own who knows what. So I think that's an area I think you could keep your eye on, is all these AI startups. Which of them really suit your your model and your platform.
Yeah, there's a really interesting article that came out this last year about useful proof of work leveraging AI, where the idea is, as opposed to Bitcoin, where the work that you're doing is cryptographic hashing, which is also useless work. The work you're doing is training an AI model, and this happens in a distributed way, and it kind of turns the blockchain incentive structure on its head, because the value created from training the models, which are usable models and have some sort of utility, can then be distributed among the network. These are very interesting times with a lot of developments. It's kind of hard to tell where we'll be in like a couple of months, but we're keeping our ears on the ground for these kind of opportunities where we can leverage these emerging technologies to integrate them with our own economical framework, where we want to leverage these technologies specifically to provide a new egalitarian and democratic high bandwidth democracy framework for controlling and allocating resources today with our member projects, but in the future through additional mechanisms and implementations.
Yeah, sort of like a super NGO, and you know, as a platform. What would you want more from an automation network? What do you see are the functionalities and improvements we should be looking to put on our roadmap?
I think I have 2 or 3 humbly I may suggest. I think I know there's the PowerPool Oracle as well, and having the PowerPool Oracle maybe expand, and if I'm ignorant, please correct me, to cover any API, any Web2 API endpoint and WebSockets. That would be great. So I wouldn't have to give my tokens to Chainlink and support something that's more decentralized and more true to the values of the ecosystem. I think that EigenLayer is an innovation that's worth looking at. And I could definitely see how allowing EigenLayer operators to become PowerPool agents could help both with like security scaling and with helping with the reducing the fragmentation of the security pool in the crypto space. I don't know if that's something you guys have considered. And it would be interesting, another thing for like a third type of job where we have the interval jobs, we have the resolver jobs, and then maybe providing some sort of programmatic interface for a third kind of job where the PowerPool agent would be natively connecting to Web2 interfaces to determine the execution of a job, which I understand has its complexities, not trivial at all. But these are some things that came to me when looking at the platform.
Well, I don't know, Vasily, what do you think? Did we lose Vasily? No. Vasily, are you there?
Yep. Sorry, it looks like I lost connection for 3 seconds. So yeah, so regarding this, Web2 connection, I think, so this is something from off-chain world, right? So, and processing some inputs from off-chain is quite complicated, I can say. So it requires at least zk proofs and all this kind of, complex stuff. So we are working on it right now, but it's not released yet. But I think in the future, it will be possible one day.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Okay. Yeah, and getting back to the issue of bundling with EigenLayer, we right now, all people that run validators on EVM chains, they have obviously to be looking at DVT to cut their slashing risk, and that's a package or a client. They need to be looking at liquid restaking to cut the amount of ETH or other native tokens they have to put up on the node. and they have to now be looking at eigenlayer and restaking, and really, in terms of getting the maximum yield on your low cost hardware and minimal bandwidth, you want to put a package of all those things in. We're bundled with DAppNode right now, but we're desperately trying to get the attention of the LST and LRT and DVT, and say, look, these things should be bundles. These should be, passive income for life, maximum ROI bundles for people. But right now, everybody just pushes their own thing. They just go, oh yeah, install DVT. And then somebody else says, install our LST. There's like 6 or 8 of them and more. And then with, in a sense, the restaking is a little easier because there's not quite as many to deal with. But you're right. We do want people to recognize that these should be bundles.
Yeah, we're fragmenting like the available. There's only a limited amount of people who are willing to validate and secure assets for the crypto ecosystem, and like everybody attempting to sort of bootstrap their own validator set sort of fragments that pool further and further. And overall, I think like consolidating all these available funds to one sort of platform is a very interesting idea, and I can definitely see how it benefits the ecosystem. And Eigenlayer is attempting to do that without even making any protocol changes. So it's a very interesting initiative, and we're going to have to see how it pans out.
Yeah. I mean, before people would have said, oh, the more stuff I load on my machine, the more likely one of them is to crash and then I'll get slashed. So DVT is the great enabler. Once you have a DVT client running, you can relax on all the rest. And I think that's the other message we need to get out to people. That once you go DVT, yeah, you can run 6 or 8 things on a machine.
Yeah, that is actually, DVT is definitely something that we're looking into as a future use case as well.
Yeah, I mean, for your own nodes, I would say, make the decision, put in DVT, and then just start layering stuff on top because your ass is covered by the DVT.
True.
Which is, it requires, I think, to keep in mind, like it requires a bit more coordination than DVT, like having multiple people. It means like, having the practice of, being able to trust the people that you're, in your DVT squad, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, but there's 2 players, SSA and OBOL, and their whole community revolves around solving this problem of getting you together with people you can trust, and it's a community problem. It's a community, it's a community effort. But my point is only that if our nodes all have DVT, I mean, we as PowerPool probably should be creating DVT pools amongst our keepers, for one thing. And then it's a lot easier to convince a new keeper coming in. Look, here's a big pool of DVT because these guys are all your fellow PowerAgent keepers anyway. And once you get the DVT there, as I said before, hyping up the ROI and the returns and the earnings is a lot less fraught and worrisome. So, yeah, I mean, I think we need to be more aggressive on DVT, and we certainly would love.
Sorry, Gordon, I cannot hear you.
Yeah, me either. We lost him, maybe.
Yep. Yep. I think that while Gordon reconnects, maybe we'll ask the community, do you have some questions to Breadchain or to PowerPool? Maybe something regarding the technical stuff, or maybe Breadchain, maybe you have some questions to PowerPool as well.
Yeah. So Vasily mentioned earlier bringing sort of the real world, or the off-chain world onto the blockchain environment using zk proofs, and obviously mentioned sort of the complexities of that. This is also relevant to the machine learning and the AI stuff we were talking about earlier. I was wondering, like, what's your like roadmap or vision regarding integrating that into the PowerPool ecosystem?
Yep. So the zk proofs, they mainly used for verifying off-chain computations. So, for example, if you have some heavy mathematical logic that you don't want to calculate on-chain because it's too costly, you'll spend too much gas and too much money. So you can make all these computations off-chain and then prove on-chain that these computations were entirely correct. So, and that the some job should be executed this way or that way. For example, if these calculations affect the funds allocation or some particular on-chain actions. So this is the main idea, and the idea of interacting with Web2 websites, etc., is more about oracles, task of things, right? Type of things. But yeah, if there are a lot of keepers and they can participate in some kind of consensus around the information that they want to provide, to on-chain, why not? So, but I think that the off-chain computations are easier because it's something determined. So you have some mathematics that you just need to prove, and like from a mathematical point of view, it can be done. Like 100% guarantee that it is correct, for example. So I can say that we don't have particular, date yet. I mean, like February or March, but we are working on this because so the main focus for PowerPool at this moment is to expand on like the majority of like notable chains. It's like Optimism, Scroll, Polygon, and some other ones, including the neon EVM on Solana to bring PowerPool automation to Solana. So now our main focus is to expanding on various chains, testing the software, and creating the library of templates for automation, and also helping projects like Breadchain, to integrate and to like start using us really fast and overcome all the complexity if there will be any. So this is our like primary focus, and the zk stuff is a little bit on background so far. So I think that maybe we will be able to provide like particular detailed roadmap maybe like next month when we will start like finishing rolling out on Polygon that we are doing right now. We're also running on Arbitrum at this moment as a closed testnet, and hopefully we will open it to all the all the node runners in the community that ask for that. So yeah, I cannot provide particular roadmap, but I can say that like maybe next month we can return to it with more details. Because this zk proofing, it's not some routine type of development, right? So it requires academic stuff, etc. So it's I cannot say that okay, we will fork something tomorrow and it will work. Of course, I mean this is an honest answer.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
So we keep this in mind. We have a mathematic, person in PowerPool research team that's capable of doing this stuff, at least on the academic level. Yeah, but we are not like delivering it right now, as I can say.
Sure, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, there is a question in the chat. I see. I mean, not in the chat, in the comments under the IMA page. So, Breadchain integration of PowerAgent automation is pivotal for separation. How does Breadchain plan to ensure the seamless integration of PowerAgent to automated yield fund distribution, considering the dynamic nature of yield collection governance results? So I think it's more a question for you. I mean, of course, we are not talking about the technical implementation, I think, or maybe Ron can add something as well. I don't know. So yeah, could you maybe share more information on that, and maybe I can also comment something from the technical side here.
Technical limitations related to our. Are you talking about our liquidity management or our treasury management?
About the
fund disbursement.
Yield fund distribution. I mean, I'm just reading the question. It's not my question.
Okay. So basically, what we're kind of coming up against is that we've noticed that there are a lot of frameworks in the space for grant management and off-chain voting and integrating that with on-chain assets. But what we've seen is this sort of logic of everybody gets an equal vote and we fund projects according to what the sum of everyone voted, not delegated, not representative, just high bandwidth democracy where everybody gets a say equally. That kind of infrastructure is not out there to the best of our knowledge, in the sense that a lot of the best practice implementations revolve proposals and involve delegations, involve proposals. In our use case, what we want is for people to be able to vote during the period of the month, and then the distribution that gets end up by PowerPool agents distributed to the membership project is a function of whoever held bread for that month. So this is incompatible with the sort of I propose a distribution and then people vote on it, because we want everybody who participates to determine that disbursement. So that's a technical difficulty that we're experiencing.
Yeah, I would add to answer this question. PowerAgent is incredibly powerful in terms of its ability to nest and cascade automated actions. You can have a triggered, a computationally triggered task that in fact creates more tasks. So you can have an infinite chain of actions. And of course, blockchains can't do this. I understand where the question comes from. Blockchains on their own can't do any of this. That's why you need PowerAgent.
Definitely, there's a lot of infrastructure that needs to be built out and innovation to help us really bring to fruition the kind of use cases and implementations that we need to. Yeah.
I mean, one of the couple of pet projects that we're really looking for people to come for us and say, I want a grant to do, is things like automated common goods funding, automatically on every execution pay out to nominated common goods, for example. And, that's very close to what you're talking about. But we would like a totally generalized one where someone like Gitcoin can just nominate a wallet and people would do simple little services, and the developer would get paid and the common goods would get paid, things like that.
Yeah, we're thinking about things like a general tax on bread that gets redistributed to the community. We are thinking about allowing community members to nominate external sort of projects or initiatives that are aligned with our values. It is challenging to do these things in a late stage capitalist ecosystem where the incentive structures are kind of unaligned with the goals that we have. But definitely the crypto space and the technology allow us to sort of dream new models of economic cooperation that hopefully will just be beneficial for everyone.
Well, unless somebody has more questions, I don't see any more on but I don't always get them all coming through on my mobile phone. I don't know why, but
we see two questions for Breadchain here in the comments.
On the post.
Yeah, we can take those.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
We see.
Well, we have about 10 minutes left. If you one question that sometimes comes up is gas spikes. Maybe Vasily could explain how we handle gas spikes.
Yeah, we'd love to hear that.
Yep. So at this moment, there is no filter, according to my knowledge, for the maximal gas for the job, but it will be soon. So what is gas spike? It is when the gas is much bigger than before, right? For a while, but there's the question: is the job do job require to be executed particularly at this time? For example, if it is some distribution of treasury proceeds or something else, you can wait maybe like 10 minutes or some amount of time until the gas will be below the threshold, right? So there will be simply the threshold, the gas threshold for the job execution. So if, for example, gas is below 100 gray in Ethereum, the job will be executed, and if if the condition is met and job should be executed right now, but the gas is higher, the job wouldn't be executed. So there is a simple solution for that. Of course, it depends on the nature of job. For example, if you need to protect your huge position from liquidation on some lending market, it is not logical to use such kind of a filter, right? Because in case of huge volatility on the market, when, for example, Ethereum goes down, usually the gas is much more expensive, right? Because everybody starts, to make some arbitrage deals, also liquidations, etc. So it means that often the gas spikes correlate with some volatility events in the network, and if your task tries to solve some issue with the volatility, because, for example, if you are protecting your position on lending market from liquidation, you're directly trying to deal with the volatility and protect your your position from this volatility, right? So you don't need to use this threshold because it's not logical. Your position will be liquidated, and you will probably lose much more than you will pay for the gas to protect your position. But for other types of jobs, you can use the threshold. So this is the simple answer for that.
Interesting.
Yeah, but you're a job owner, and it's logical for you to provide an option to specify the gas range, right? So if the gas is above the 100 gray, you don't want to execute your task. If some delay in execution wouldn't affect the core, the core idea of your task or the core functionality, why not? So for example, if you're using your wallet and you're doing some trades or doing something on chain, right? If you see that the gas is 300 gray, you will wait to do something routine, right? You will just maybe delay it for 1 hour and do some claim of the rewards or something else in the 1 hour. Why not? So so the problem of gas spike is mainly that you as a job owner will spend more money for gas, right? So this is the only problem, I think. I mean, the major one for you as a job owner.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yep. So
I see.
yeah, there's also a question how Breadchain plans to leverage PowerPool automation to facilitate automatic conversion of regular rewards into bread, especially concerning optimal network prices and user thresholds. I don't know what is user thresholds, but
Yeah. So what we want to do is for the operators that receive their rewards, they will essentially be opting into depositing a certain amount of those either IRC20 tokens or in native currency, because this is happening on Ethereum mainnet. They will be sending that over to our contract, and we actually need the PowerPool network to both bridge those assets over to Gnosis and swap them to DAI, so we can convert them into bread, which will then lead to higher yield and will fund our projects more. So it's for those two applications that we need agents to do. We need on a certain threshold, when we've accumulated enough rewards for a PowerPool agent through a resolver job, to identify that and bridge it over. And then another PowerPool agent will identify that the assets have been bridged over and will convert them for us to the proper currency we need.
Well, we only have about 3 minutes left, so I wanted to thank Breadchain, to welcome you to the community. As I said earlier, I think it's absolutely great when we have people who are both developing on the platform and running nodes. That's the kind of cross-functional skill that we want in the DAO. And so we look forward to working with you, and thank you for joining us in this space.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you a lot, Josh. Thank you a lot, Ron, and the Breadchain as well. So looking forward for all the job implementations. We will assist you, so we will be happy to help with all these like ideas regarding how to use the curve pools, etc. So just ping us in our group regarding that. So also I want to add that this gas like spikes threshold mechanism. It is working right now, so you can use it, no problem. just an addition to the previous question. Yeah.
Great. Nice. Yeah, it's been great.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you guys. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks a lot for the opportunity.